Hey, what's up, y'all? This is your brother Big D with Blerd Planet, and today we have a video about Dr. Sebi. Now, many of you may or may not know of Dr. Sebi. There's been like a lot. His name has been coming up in the news lately, especially since Nipsey Hussle died. Apparently, Nipsey Hussle had talked about how he was going to make a Dr. Sebi documentary. Dr. Sebi is very controversial. Some of his beliefs are very controversial, and honestly, most of his theories have been debunked. Um, this is a video that talks about some of his theories and how the science versus the actual scientific proof to show how relevant his stuff is. He was born Alfredo Darrington Bowman from Honduras. He was a self-proclaimed healer. He never ever cured AIDS. Um, yeah, it just we'll see, and you'll get to it. We'll see the video. Leave comment, share, subscribe, love it, all that. All right, y'all. Peace.
Hey everybody, my name is Mike and I'm a third year medical student at the University of Illinois College of Medicine, and I'm making this video to expose some of the most ridiculous, pseudoscientific, and ignorant claims made by the now deceased Alfredo Darrington Bowman, better known by his self-given name of Dr. Sebi. From this point forward, I will be referring to him as Mr. Bowman because he was not a doctor. He was simply a fraudulent individual with no education who took advantage of scientifically illiterate and impressionable people, and who is apparently still taking advantage of scientifically illiterate and impressionable people posthumously. Now, Mr. Bowman has made so many scientifically inaccurate claims that exhausting them, just simply traversing through the vast wilderness of bullshit, would take more time than I have. So I'll probably just end up making several videos, each dedicated to specific claims that he has made. But the first ridiculous claim that I will address in this video is that germs don't exist.
So we begin now. They told us that disease is the result of germ, virus, or bacteria. Am I right? Who said that? The Caucasian again. But how do you know that's true? Have we done any research independent to that of the European? He done his research. Right, the Japanese did it. Good. But what about my mama? My mama needs representation too, isn't it? I want to hear what my mama has to say. But my mama said that there's no such thing as a germ, a virus, or a bacteria. What did you say, Dr. Sebi? This is in court. This is the Supreme Court of the United States. The judge said, what did you say? I said, there is no such thing as a germ, a virus, or a bacteria. Then what is it? I said, man, it is a microbe that is generated in the body when erosion begins. So see, explain that. That's very simple. If I take a very healthy human being and lay them on the table and not move them for a month, when I raise them, what are they going to have on their back? A benzo. And inside that benzo would be some little worms, isn't it? Sure. But where did the worms come from and where would they work? In the man himself. But why the benzo? You didn't move that person. That part of him was lacking of oxygen. You never see benzo on the top of the person, you see them on the bottom. The deprivation of oxygen causes all disease. Big mystery. You see how I put you on that?
I just want to express how insane a claim like this is. The claim that bacteria and viruses don't exist is such an egregious example of scientific ignorance. It's even more egregious than saying the world is flat, in my opinion. But I'm sure there's some considerable overlap between flat earthers and people who believe in Bowman's claims, and I doubt that this overlap is a coincidence. But this claim is crazy for a number of reasons. The first, most obvious reason is that you can see bacteria with your own eyes. You can see viruses with your own eyes. We've been able to see bacteria in particular for over 100 years with the invention of the microscope. He says he never went to school, and it shows, because this is something kids do in junior high or even elementary school. He claims that nothing is infectious, rather all diseases are caused by a lack of oxygen. He's also noted saying that all diseases are caused by mucus buildup, so he can't seem to make up his mind on that one. The claim that all diseases are caused by a lack of oxygen is just on its face false. Explain to me how cancer is caused by a lack of oxygen. Explain to me why, if cancer is caused by a lack of oxygen, why oxygen therapy wouldn't cure a person's cancer. Why wouldn't oxygen therapy cure every disease for that matter if a lack of oxygen was the source of all diseases. He went on to give another example of someone who lays on their back and gets bed sores, and that worms can grow from inside of your body. You know, they grow from inside of these bed sores. This is an ancient idea. It's an idea that's thousands of years old and was disproven definitively by Louis Pasteur in 1859. So here you have a man peddling Stone Age science that was disproven hundreds of years ago, but definitively disproven 150 years ago with Louis Pasteur. If you're interested in some more reasons why the idea that germs aren't real is nonsensical, here's a few more. There are more bacterial cells in your body than actual human cells. Okay, that's one. At birth, babies are given a vitamin K shot because infants lack vitamin K. You may ask, why do infants lack vitamin K? Because nearly all of humans' vitamin K is produced by your gut bacteria. And if you don't have vitamin K, your blood is not able to coagulate properly, thus leaving you at increased risk for hemorrhage. So you need vitamin K for coagulation because vitamin K, which is oxidized in the body by an enzyme called epoxide reductase, acts as a cofactor for various coagulation factors. This is well understood, and there is pharmacology that we have created called warfarin that is used in order to thin one's blood based on this principle. This drug is used to prevent atrial fibrillation or venous thromboembolism, for example. So that's two. Another reason, if you needed any more reasons, is that if bacteria and virus don't exist, then antibiotics shouldn't work. Antibiotics are designed to specifically target bacterial or viral machinery. If bacteria has a molecular machine that creates its protein, we call this a ribosome, we can develop an antibiotic that targets this machine in order to kill the organism. If a bacteria has a thick sugar coat that acts like armor and protects it against the outside world, we can develop drugs that target that armor, and we can interfere with the construction of that armor, or we can punch holes in the armor. This is literally the foundation of antibiotic creation. We notice that microbes exist. We notice that they are infectious and they make people sick. We study them, and then we attack specific parts of their anatomy or machinery, if you will, in order to destroy them. Ask anyone who's had an STD if antibiotics work. Ask somebody who's had syphilis or gonorrhea or chlamydia. Antibiotics obviously work. The next ridiculous claim I'll be addressing is the claim that proteins don't exist.
You tell me. Well, as I said, are you saying that protein is a necessary food? I didn't say anything like that. I don't know what protein is. Well, it is one of the 19 amino acids, the building blocks of life. Amino acids. Protein is one of the 19 amino acids, the building block of life. Now, what does the body have to do with amino acids? The body lives in an alkaline environment. Alkaline. Alkaline. The body doesn't need any acids. Acids eats you up. Alkaline to preserve you is electrical. You will never find a battery saying acid battery. It's an alkaline.
What does the body have to do with amino acids? honestly, seriously, this is so stupid. This is so incredibly stupid. I don't really know where to begin. He spelled alkaline wrong, by the way, in case anyone cares. His logic, in case you couldn't follow it, was that because proteins are amino acids, and acids are bad for the body, humans don't need proteins because our bodies need to be alkaline. And he even says later in the video that you will never find an acid battery because batteries are alkaline, and alkaline generates life. So, before I get into this nonsense, the claims, that he just said might sound innocuous or even reasonable, to those with little or no scientific background. However, to someone with an extensive science background, such as myself, a medical student with a bachelor's degree in molecular and cellular biology, and my background is not even extensive. I mean, people spend their entire lives studying these things, but to someone with this background knowledge, these claims are embarrassingly ignorant, just embarrassingly ignorant, and demonstrate that this man had less than an elementary school understanding of the natural world. This is not hyperbole when I say this. I know children under the age of 12 who I've spoken to who are more scientifically literate than this man. So, first and foremost, acid batteries have been around for over 150 years and are still used today. The first ever rechargeable battery was actually a lead acid battery. So his analogy is wrong, but before it begins, it's just flat out wrong. And it honestly seems like this guy just noticed that every pack of AA batteries he bought said alkaline on them, and just decided that all batteries are alkaline due to that fact, due to that, all the batteries he would buy said alkaline, and that since batteries give things energy, and they're alkaline, human beings need alkaline things to give them energy. This is quack reasoning if I've ever heard of any. Secondly, people are not batteries. This is just a terrible analogy, which is related to the whole alkaline myth, which I can address in another video. I don't have time to do it now, but a quick spoiler alert: no food you ingest will change your blood pH out of its narrow range of 7.35 to 7.45. The pH of your pee fluctuates. It can be more acidic or alkaline, but that's simply a function of your pee being a waste product intended to keep your blood pH within the narrow aforementioned range in the first place. So if your pH deviated from, say, 7.45 to 8, meaning it got even more alkaline, so just those couple point that couple point difference, you would be dead. 7.45 to 8, you're dead. So if your pH begins to rise too much, your body excretes a more alkaline urine. The reverse is true. If you begin to become too acidic, your pee will be more acidic as a compensatory mechanism. But this does not mean that your blood or body pH, whatever that means. I assume people, when they talk about body pH, they talk about blood. That's not gonna deviate from that narrow 7.35 to 7.45 range. So, besides making one of the most childish false analogies I've ever heard comparing humans to batteries, his claims about proteins are actually worse. Just to give you guys more context, here's another video.
Melanin? What is it? I don't know. What are white people trying to get from? The Greek word, neuronal. Well, white folks talk about protein. What is protein? They say one of the 19 amino acids, the building blocks of life. But I know for a fact that that is not a true statement. Because protein, if it was the building block of life, what happened to the gorilla that lived 180 years without eating anything that contained protein? Unless they're going to say that the plants contain protein too. They're always saying things, and because we have no laboratories.
So, combining these two videos, his logic goes as follows. The concept of melanin was created by the white man. Proteins are also not real and invented by the white man, or at the very least are real but dangerous, because proteins are amino acids, and acids are bad because we need to be alkaline. This is truly the rambling of an idiotic and delusional man. First, and most obviously, a protein is not an amino acid. Groups of amino acids join to form proteins. okay? Not the other way around. This occurs via a well-known process in the cells. Biologists will refer to this as the central dogma. So your DNA is a code which is read and copied by molecular machinery. This transcribed copy, which we now call messenger RNA, or mRNA for short, is then translated into amino acids by the complex of ribosomes, transfer RNA, and the mRNA. And these amino acids that are generated from this complex join together to form proteins. This is 6th grade stuff. Amino acids make up 75% of a human being's dry body weight. So saying that they don't exist or aren't important is actually mind numbing. He also goes on to mention how if proteins are so important, how can gorillas who eat nothing but plants survive? Once again, this is based off of the misconception that plants don't have proteins. Okay, this is pure scientific ignorance. Gorillas eat a protein-rich diet, supplemented with fruits. Protein makes up about 17% of a gorilla's total energy intake, and at certain times of the year, this protein intake rises to 31% of a gorilla's total energy intake. Eastern lowland gorillas are known to eat a diet consisting of hundreds of different species of plants. Gorillas will eat, they eat these plant stems, they eat fruit, as I alluded to, they eat tree bark, and occasionally they eat small invertebrates like ants, worms, termites, larvae, you name it. So gorillas have a varied diet and have no problem getting protein. Similarly, humans who decide to be vegans don't have a problem getting protein as long as they're sure to eat the non-animal based foods that contain the essential amino acids you need to survive. There are literally diseases that we've known about for a long time that are caused by low protein intake. Kwashiorkor, if I always mispronounce that, but I think it's pronounced Kwashiorkor, is a disease prevalent in malnourished in third world countries, and it's caused when people don't get enough protein. So what you notice when you see these poor children is that they're very skinny, but they have wildly distended bellies, and this distension is due to fluid buildup. So proteins in the bloodstream, mainly albumin, they exert something called an oncotic force, which is a pulling force, and this pulling force opposes the hydrostatic force, which is a pushing force. And when you have no more proteins, your body cannot make proteins anymore because you're not ingesting them. You can't make the protein, you can't make albumin. So what happens is the lack of an oncotic force is overtaken by the hydrostatic force, and the fluid's not being drawn into your vessels where it should be, and it's actually being pushed into the interstitium, which causes edema and these wildly distended bellies. So lastly, I'll just touch on Bowman's idea that melanin isn't real. Okay, first of all, melanin is real. Ironically, melanin is actually synthesized by an amino acid, of all things, called tyrosine. So one of the interesting ways scientists know that melanin is a pigment derived from tyrosine and is responsible for dark skin, for example, is by studying people with albinism. So doctors know that the two most common causes of albinism are defects in either synthesizing tyrosine or transporting tyrosine. Once again, according to Bowman, tyrosine isn't even supposed to exist. So if you lack a gene responsible for coding for an enzyme called tyrosinase, you will have an inability to synthesize melanin. Or if you have a defect in the tyrosinase transporter, you will have decreased melanin in the skin. And this is the most common cause of albinism in the world. So I think this is enough nonsense for one video. I'm pretty sure I'll make more because there's just so much misinformation to pull from. Everything from him curing AIDS to curing sickle cell to cancer to curing blindness. Science does not work like this. Science does not work where a lone man with no education cures a variety of diseases that have nothing to do with each other. I mean, this is just obviously bullshit to anyone with an education. But if there's anything you'd like to see in particular, or any questions that you have, you can ask me on Twitter, or you can leave a comment, and I'll try to make a video addressing it. Some people may wonder why I would even take the time out of my day to make a video like this, and the main reason is that I take the abuse and manipulation of vulnerable people in society very seriously. It's one of the reasons I'm becoming a doctor in the first place, and I'm sensitive to the fact that black people, my people, in this country have been historically abused by the medical and research community. Blacks have been in this country uniquely mistreated. This country has mistreated all sorts of people historically, but I feel black people have been uniquely mistreated by the medical and research world, if you will. Black people have been abused and even tortured, all in the name of scientific progress. It doesn't just stop at Tuskegee, which is everybody's favorite example. Tuskegee is just the tip of the much larger proverbial iceberg. So I partially understand why so many black people, in particular, are skeptical of Western medicine and thus, susceptible to a quack like Bowman. But ultimately, there is no excuse for this behavior in this information age. I challenge anyone who's watched this video to provide me with any shred of hard evidence that shows Bowman has cured any of the diseases he's claimed to. Find me the person with AIDS who has been cured. Find me the person with cancer who has been cured. Find me the blind person who can now see because of his treatment, which was, in case you didn't know, drinking your own urine. So this man literally thought that drinking your own urine after a fast would cure your blindness. Okay, this is very easy to test, by the way, and you will become very famous if you prove it to be true. Point me in the direction of the peer-reviewed studies and the randomized controlled trials and the replication of his studies that just demonstrate scientifically that he's cured anyone. And if you don't know what these things are, if you don't know what controlling for an experiment means, or if you don't know what randomization means, if you don't know what a randomized controlled trial is, if you don't know what these things are, you're not even qualified to speak on these matters. Like you're just simply not qualified. If you think that a YouTube video, by some obscure source, some unverified source, or anecdotes, he said, she says, qualify as scientific evidence, then you clearly have no idea how science works. Everything I have said in this video is verifiable. Don't just take my word for it. Concepts like germ theory, or the replication of DNA, or the existence of proteins, this has been worked out. And the proof is everywhere. And there's life-changing technology based on these concepts that simply would not work if they were false. So snake oil salesmen like him have been tricking people for thousands of years. He is not unique. There are thousands of people who have claimed to cure AIDS. Okay, thousands of people who have claimed to cure cancer and everything he's claimed to cure. So, he has cured people in the minds of the credulous because he said he cured people. This is how cults are formed. So if you're gullible enough to believe claims like that, claims that cannot be backed up by actual data, then you should reevaluate the way you assess truth claims, because you may be susceptible to being manipulated. There are real black scientist out there, if you're Afrocentric and you wish to support black scientists and doctors and health professionals who work with sick and underserved people every day, like myself, um, and who have literally dedicated their lives to helping these people, so support those doctors. Support real doctors who do real science and provide real cures to real diseases and actually treat people. If you or someone you know has HIV, AIDS, or cancer, and I have news for you. It's not caused by mucus, like Bowman says. All right, so please go get professional help, and I'll see you next time.